The Snake and the King, our tale of two brothers. In the heart of London, there lived two British-born Pakistani men, Rizwan and Imran. The brothers were raised in a small, bustling neighborhood where the mix of different cultures created a unique environment. Though born and raised in England, their family had deep roots in the town of Dadial, Pakistan, where their parents had grown up before moving to the UK. Rizwan was the older brother, a man in his early 30s, who had always felt a sense of responsibility. He worked long hours as an accountant, a job that required his full attention. Imran, on the other hand, was in his late 20s and often found himself drawn to the more adventurous side of life. He was the type to explore the unknown, test his limits, and live life to the fullest. Their differences often led to disagreements, but deep down, they loved each other like only brothers could. One evening, after another long day at work, Rizwan was at home in his flat, sitting in front of his computer, going over spreadsheets. He was tired, his eyes heavy from staring at the screen for hours. The noise of the city outside, the constant hum of cars, the distant chatter of people, seemed to fade as he focused on his work. However, his peace was suddenly interrupted by a message on his phone. "Rizwan, I need your help." It was from Imran. Rizwan rolled his eyes. He had just finished a busy week, and all he wanted was a quiet evening. But he couldn't ignore his brother's message. "What's up?" he typed back. The response came quickly. "I need you to come over. It's urgent." With a sigh, Rizwan grabbed his coat, locked his flat, and headed to Imran's apartment. Imran lived just a few streets away, in an area known for its vibrant street art, quirky cafes, and bustling markets. The walk was short, but Rizwan's mind was already racing. What could be so urgent? When he arrived, Imran greeted him with a wide grin. "You're late?" he teased. Rizwan raised an eyebrow. "What's so urgent that you couldn't wait to tell me over the phone?" Imran pulled him inside, his eyes gleaming with excitement. "You're not going to believe this," he said, gesturing towards a large wooden box in the corner of the room. Rizwan frowned, confused. "What's in the box?" Imran smiled mischievously. "Snakes." Rizwan's face dropped. "Snakes? You've got to be kidding me." Imran nodded enthusiastically. "No joke, bro. I've been researching them for months. They're fascinating creatures. I even found someone selling a rare breed. And guess what? I bought one." "Why?" Rizwan asked, his voice tinged with disbelief. "Why would you want a snake?" Imran shrugged. "Why not? They're unique. And you know me. I like to explore new things. I thought it could be interesting." Rizwan stood frozen, staring at the wooden box as if it might suddenly come alive. "What kind of snake is it?" Imran grinned. "A king cobra." Rizwan's eyes widened. "Are you out of your mind? A king cobra? That's dangerous." Imran laughed. "No worries, bro. I've got everything under control. I've been reading all about snake care. I know what I'm doing." Rizwan shook his head in disbelief. "I can't believe this." Imran ignored his brother's concerns. "I need you to help me with something. The snake is still a bit wild. I want to tame it, but I can't do it alone. I need someone who's strong and patient." Rizwan sighed. He knew his brother could be stubborn, but this was something else. "All right, fine. But I'm not touching that thing. You're on your own with that snake." Imran chuckled. "Fair enough. But I need your help to figure out how to control it. We've got to make sure it listens To us. Rizwan reluctantly agreed to stay and watch, though he had no intention of getting close to the snake. He sat down on the couch, arms crossed, as Imran approached the box. He carefully opened the lid, and out slithered the king cobra, its sleek, shiny scales glistening in the dim light. Rizwan's heart raced. The snake's hood expanded, and its eyes locked onto his. It was both beautiful and terrifying. Imran, however, seemed completely calm, almost as if he was communicating with the creature. "See, it's not so bad," Imran said, his voice steady. "But I need to make it obey me. It needs to understand that I'm in control." Rizwan couldn't tear his eyes away from the snake. There was something about it, something ancient and powerful. He had heard stories about snakes in his culture, about their symbolism, their mysterious qualities. But this was different. This was real. As Imran continued to coax the snake into obedience, Rizwan's thoughts drifted. The king cobra seemed to symbolize something deeper. Something about control, power, and the struggle between fear and understanding. It was then that Imran spoke again, this time with a more serious tone. "You know, Rizwan, I've been thinking. This snake, it's like us. We were both born here, in England, but we're still tied to our roots. Our parents came from Pakistan, from Dadial. And even though we've lived our whole lives in London, there's always something that pulls us back to that place. Something we can't control, no matter how hard we try." Rizwan looked at his brother, surprised by his words. "What do you mean?" Imran set the snake down carefully and turned to face his brother. "I mean, we're like this snake. We've spent our whole lives here, trying to fit in, trying to blend into the British way of life. But no matter how hard we try, there's always something inside us that reminds us where we came from." Rizwan nodded slowly. "I get it. It's like we're caught between two worlds. But how do we tame it? How do we control what we can't even fully understand?" Imran smiled, a knowing glint in his eye. "I don't know. But just like this snake, maybe we need to learn how to live with it. We can't control everything, but we can understand it. And maybe that's the key to finding peace." As the night went on, Rizwan began to see the situation in a new light. He still didn't like the idea of having a king cobra in the room, but he started to appreciate the metaphor his brother had drawn. The snake wasn't just a pet. It was a symbol of the challenges they both faced in their lives, trying to balance their heritage with their present. Imran continued to work with the snake, trying different techniques to calm it, to gain its trust. Rizwan watched quietly, realizing that there was a lesson in this strange moment. The king cobra, for all its power and danger, was also a creature that could be tamed with patience, understanding, and respect. It wasn't about brute force. It was about learning the right way to interact, to communicate, to find harmony. As the clock ticked past midnight, Imran finally managed to coax the snake into its enclosure. He closed the lid carefully and turned to Rizwan, exhaustion on his face but a sense of accomplishment in his eyes. "We did it," Imran said, grinning. Rizwan couldn't help but smile. "Yeah, I guess we did." The brothers sat together in the quiet of the night, reflecting on the events of the evening. Rizwan had learned more than just how to deal with a king cobra. He had learned about the balance between control and acceptance, between fear and understanding. And perhaps, most importantly, he had learned that, just like in life, the snakes we face are not always meant to be feared. Sometimes, They are meant to be understood. As the night wore on, Rizwan and Imran sat quietly in the living room, the flickering light of a small lamp casting shadows on the walls. Imran, having successfully tamed the King Cobra, was now lying back on the couch, his hands behind his head, looking relaxed. Rizwan, on the other hand, couldn't help but think more deeply about what had transpired. Imran had always been the adventurous one, the one who sought thrills and excitement. Rizwan had always been the practical, responsible brother, focused on his career, family, and stability. But tonight, something had shifted. Imran's fascination with the snake had led them to a deeper conversation, one that touched on their roots, their identities, and the balance they both sought in their lives. You know, I never really thought about it like that, Rizwan said, breaking the silence. You've got a point about the snake. It's like we're both trying to tame parts of ourselves. The British side of us. The Pakistani side of us? The part that's always pulling us in different directions. Imran turned his head to face his brother, a knowing smile playing on his lips. Exactly. We're not just living in two worlds. We're trying to find a way to belong in both. It's not easy. And sometimes, like this snake, we get scared of the things we don't understand. Rizwan nodded slowly, mulling over his brother's words. You know, it's funny, for so long, I thought I was just doing what was expected of me, work hard, build a future, make our parents proud. But I didn't realize how much I'd been pushing away my own identity in the process. I thought if I focused on the job, on building my career, I'd become someone more British, more successful. But I think I was forgetting who I am, who we are. Imran sat up, sensing the seriousness in his brother's tone. Yeah, man, I get it. For me, it's always been about living life on my own terms. But I've also realized that sometimes, I've been running away from things too. Like responsibility, like the pressure of being part of two cultures. Sometimes I just want to escape from it all. But I know that's not the answer either. Rizwan leaned forward, his elbows resting on his knees. It's like with the snake. You can't control everything. You can't force it to obey you. But you can learn to work with it, respect it, and understand it. Imran looked at his brother, his eyes reflecting a mix of surprise and admiration. Wow, Rizwan, you're starting to sound like me. You should try hanging out with snakes more often. Rizwan chuckled, shaking his head. I think I'll stick to my spreadsheets for now. But seriously, I think there's something important in what you're saying. We can't just focus on one side of ourselves, you know? We have to balance both our cultures, our heritage, and the life we're building here in the UK. We can't ignore one for the other. Imran nodded thoughtfully. Exactly. It's about finding that middle ground. We don't have to give up our traditions, our family values, or the things that make us who we are. But we also don't have to pretend we don't belong here. We can be both. We can be Pakistani and British. And that's okay. Rizwan sat back, feeling a sense of relief. For the first time in a long while, he felt like he was beginning to understand himself better. The weight he had been carrying for years, the weight of expectations and responsibilities, felt a little lighter. Maybe that's the lesson of the snake, Rizwan said, more to himself than to Imran. It's not about taming it completely, but about understanding how to live with it. Just like how we need to understand ourselves, how we can live in both worlds without losing who we are. Imran smiled, clearly pleased by his brother's newfound perspective. Well, it's not all about the snake, But you're right. Maybe we don't need to fight against our backgrounds, our upbringing. We don't need to force it. We just need to accept it and find peace with it. The two brothers sat in silence for a moment, reflecting on the conversation. The snake, which had been the catalyst for this unexpected exchange, had brought something more valuable than they could have imagined. It had sparked a deep conversation about identity, belonging, and the balance between two worlds. And in that moment, Rizwan felt a sense of clarity that had eluded him for years. But as the night grew darker, Rizwan's thoughts returned to the snake. He could still see the image of the King Cobra's hood flaring, its powerful presence in the room. It had been a strange, surreal evening, but he couldn't deny that something about it had awakened something within him, a deeper understanding of himself and his brother. Imran, ever the adventurous one, had always seemed to embrace the unknown, while Rizwan had been more reserved, more cautious. But tonight, their roles had shifted. Rizwan had found a new perspective on his life, and Imran had begun to see the value of stability, responsibility, and understanding the things he couldn't control. As the clock struck 1 a.m., Rizwan stood up. "I think it's time I head home," he said, stretching his arms. "But I'm glad I came over. I needed this conversation." Imran stood as well, walking his brother to the door. "You're always welcome here, bro. And next time, maybe I'll take you on a snake handling course." Rizwan raised an eyebrow. "I think I'll pass on that for now. But who knows? Maybe one day I'll be ready." They both laughed, the bond between them stronger than it had ever been. As Rizwan stepped out into the cool London night, he felt a sense of peace. The city, bustling with life, seemed a little quieter now, as if it too had taken a breath. Rizwan wasn't sure what the future held, but he knew that he had a better understanding of who he was and where he came from. Imran, standing in the doorway, watched his brother disappear into the night. The King Cobra, now safely tucked away in its enclosure, seemed less threatening now. Imran had learned something tonight, too. Life wasn't about escaping from your responsibilities or your heritage. It was about finding balance, understanding the forces at play, and learning to live with them, not against them. With a deep breath, Imran closed the door and turned to the snake. "We're going to get along just fine, aren't we?" he whispered, as if the snake could understand him. The room fell silent, the only sound the soft hiss of the King Cobra in its enclosure. And so, the night came to an end. But for Rizwan and Imran, the lessons they had learned would stay with them forever. Like the snake, they had learned that sometimes it wasn't about taming what was wild, but about learning how to live with it. And in that, they had found their own kind of peace.